There we go.
And welcome to episode 3 of the Zombie and Ox Comic Hour. Coming to you live from the lair. So, we've got a lot to cover this week. Isn't that right, Ox?
Probably more than we should cover in 1 hour, but we can make it work.
It's also you and I. When have we ever done something that we should?
Fair point.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of comic shop reviews, a bunch of comic reviews, and Injustice came out,
Yes.
which we've all played. If you haven't, there will probably be spoiler alerts, and I apologize for that. Not really, because you should have played it by now, and that's your own fault.
Actually, if you haven't playing, just stop listening now. Just stop listening, go out and buy it, and then come back and listen to the rest of the episode later.
There we go. Yeah. Yes, so that is an official recommendation from us to play it. We're actually getting started recording quite a bit later than we should because my beloved was playing it in the living room while Ox and I are sitting here setting up mic equipment going, no, R1, X, oh, crap, you're dead.
You were not helping at all. You think you were, but you were not.
Either way.
That is just one irritated fiance. It's like, you think you're helping, but you're not.
I tried.
You are quite unhelpful.
So I will say that, how many issues did you come up with in Injustice?
Other than my near death, only a couple.
I mean, I had a couple of just like, lack of characters being represented to their fullest extent, but beyond all, I had one major issue.
Which was?
That, I'm sorry, Shazam, regardless of the Marvel lawsuit or not, is not called Shazam. He is called Captain Marvel. Now, many listeners might be too young to actually know this, but once upon a time, Shazam was not called Shazam. He was not called the voice or the thing that he says. He was called Captain Marvel. Happened because DC Comics picked up a smaller company, purchased Captain Marvel outright from them, and stopped using him because he was actually outselling Superman. Years later, when they decided to revamp and start doing Captain Marvel again, Marvel got pissed because, well, it's a hero with their name in it and not theirs. So, while it is kind of an understandable lawsuit, it's still something that irritates me. Superman doesn't run around going, Superman! Batman doesn't sit there and go, Batman! This is not, oh God, what was that movie? Matt Damon.
Wasn't that South Park?
No. Team America. This is not Team America
Same
with
guys,
Matt Damon. Matt Damon. That's all I could think of when I was playing Shazam, and it was Shazam. Yeah, no, your name is not what you say. Your name is Captain Marvel. Fuck the lawsuit, you're Captain Marvel. So, that was my big rant. I think I'm done for the moment.
I always thought of. I kept on thinking of Gomer Pyle. Shazam!
Yes.
Shazam as Gomer Pyle. I love it.
And this is why I'm
That's
marrying a
probably
woman.
the most accurate connections I've heard. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
He's the Gomer Pyle of the DC universe.
Well, at least he's not the Aquaman.
They already have one.
They've got an Aquaman, and he sucks,
Yeah.
like Aquaman does.
Pretty much. I wasn't a big fan of the way they represented a number of the characters, like Joker.
Poorly acted, poorly drawn.
Yeah. And combat was just kind of a... He wasn't nearly psychotic enough.
No.
Harley... I don't know, just not... As much as I loved her combat, there was just something about it that I just wasn't feeling.
Again, poorly drawn. Same actress, though. It's still
Yeah.
Tara Strong.
Yeah,
But something about it just isn't Harley.
Yeah. Now, Green Arrow, loved Green Arrow.
You would.
I would. It's Green Arrow. It's the guy who kills people with an arrow. Yeah, there is something I love about the character. It's also one of my childhood heroes. My two big ones were Superboy from the '90s run and Green Arrow.
Again, may have been your childhood hero. Doesn't mean he's a good superhero.
True, but at the same time, I also did realize that due to having Green Arrow as a hero is probably one of the major reasons that I have one of the major key starting points that I have as much liberal viewpoints as I do. Because let's face it, there is no character more left, more liberal in any comic than Green Arrow.
I just thought it would have been because you are intelligent, you read.
Well, that too.
You take your news from multiple sources.
Mostly European.
Yeah.
True. But to get away from politics, because that's a very dangerous subject that we won't touch on here. Back to comics. You know, I loved what they did with Green Arrow. Batman's combat was fantastic. The fight of Batman versus Batman sucked.
Yeah.
And Superman versus Superman sucked. Really, anytime you had to verse yourself, it just wasn't a pleasant experience at all.
Well, that's the thing. Once you get out of the story mode and into the arcade mode, you know, I mean, it's made by the same studios that did Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
the most recent one. And in that, the gameplay's good.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's competitive. It's combative. It's...
I like the fact
Yeah.
that at the end of when you do the battle modes with each character, you get you find out what happened to them at the end of the story mode.
Exactly.
And I mean, they were endings that made sense too.
Some of them.
For the most part, well, I mean, have you gotten through all the villains,
No.
or have you gone mostly hero?
I've tried to divvy it up pretty well, but some of them
Okay.
were like, oh, well, he won, and then he fucked off.
Which character are we thinking of?
I can't recall off the top of my head, but it's like, he won everything, he killed everybody, and then he went away and did nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of anticlimactic.
But I mean, it was something that you're going, okay, I could kind of make sense for that character to an extent.
Yeah.
Like Killer Frost, you know what? Her ending, you're going, all right, I can see that. She's a cold-hearted bitch. It works. Harley Quinn's ending made sense for the story.
Absolutely.
You know, Doomsday's. It worked.
Made sense.
Solomon Grundy's made sense.
I don't know. I guess the idea of following the character's story arc is good, unless it has them doing nothing.
Right, but it
It's
gave
like-
me the concept of a ending to each individual story arc gave me something to look forward to in arcade mode, in battle mode, as
Yeah.
they put it. So I did enjoy that. You know, overall, I'd give the game, just off the top of my head, at least a 4.5 out of 5. For a fighting game, I mean, is it going to rank up there with, like, DC Universe Online or any other, you know, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, Arkham...
But it's a different
Asylum?
type of game.
Right. You know, for a fighting game, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good fighting game.
If there's one thing that NetherRealm has done well over the past 20, almost 25 years now,
Yeah.
it's fighting games.
Yeah. It's
We
pretty
can
much
all
they've done.
remember when Mortal Kombat first came out in the arcades, and there was a line of 30, 40 people to play it.
That's why I used a cricket bat to get to the front.
Right. Well, that's you.
Yeah. I was an evil child. So yeah, it's a great game. If you haven't picked it up, pick it up. This might be one of the only times I will ever say spend $60 on a fighting game. I did, and I don't regret it, which is rare.
You haven't purchased the downloadable characters, have you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to playing as Lobo.
Yeah.
Just the concept of playing as Lobo is very, very exciting. Batgirl, I'm interested on her combat. And who's the other one we have? What's the other character that's downloadable?
I don't know. Kind of looks like, in all honesty, it looks like Smoke from Mortal Kombat, but
Well, yeah. You know what? To Google.
because we do research.
Sometimes we talk out our ass, but most of the time we do research.
Most research and commentary brought to you by extreme amounts of caffeine.
And e-cigarettes. Injustice Gods Among Us roster. Here we go.
Wikipedia.
I want that sound effect every time I click on Wikipedia now.
We can make that happen.
Characters. Here we go.
Speaking of Wikipedia, did you hear about the dude,
Which dude?
WikiLeaks dude, who sought asylum in Mexico?
Are you talking about Assange, who's currently living in the Ecuadorian embassy in England?
Yes,
Okay.
that guy.
Yeah.
Apparently, his plan is going to complete shit, and he's going to be extradited. And
Nice.
And-
Nice. Can't say I can argue. Apparently it's Scorpion. Scorpion is our other.
good,
Yeah.
excellent.
So
But we can't buy him yet.
No.
Or can we today?
I don't know. I think we might be able to today. I don't know.
So today, awesome.
Okay, June 11th, according to my fantastic, beloved fiance, Manga Girl.
Hooray Tuesdays.
Yep. All right, so moving back onto comics, we're going to cover... Should we start with shops or comics?
We've been doing a lot of shops lately, and we haven't really touched on any comics. So
Right.
why don't we put shops on the back burner for today and just focus on the books?
Well, I was going to say, why don't we just go ahead and do the reviews of the few shops we hit?
Okay.
Because, we did tell these guys that they were going to be reviewed on today's episode.
This is true.
And let's not be dishonest.
No.
So we did hit a significantly smaller amount of shops than we have been this past week.
Because of, reasons.
Yeah. Our prerogative. So let's go with the one you hit, comics and gaming. Give us a breakdown.
I thought the place was great. Unfortunately, when I lived not 2 minutes away from there, I did not know it was there.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad thing.
Well, I mean, the worst part about it, and this goes into its location, is that it's in part of a professional complex, and the only logo you really see from the street is the All-State Offices logo, because they have the largest suite within that complex.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know where it is now.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the Allstate, I'm like, oh, that place. Okay.
You know that 7-Eleven right there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You essentially go into the 7-Eleven parking lot and then double back on 29 or on that access road off
Right.
of 29, and it's on the corner.
That's just weird. So after your scoring of it, comics and gaming in Gainesville, Virginia got a 3.92 out of 5. Not bad, respectable.
And the only thing that really hurt it is the location.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a great selection, had a lot of gaming stuff. I mean, the entire back half of the store was devoted to gaming.
Also, I believe collectibles was a category that seemed to hurt them quite a bit.
Yeah, but I'm anal about collectibles.
Yeah, and
I've got to have them.
And I'm anal about comics, so it works.
But
Our forces combine.
that was quickly remedied with the other shops we went to this week.
It was. Let's go in the order that we visited them.
Okay.
Capital Comics in Annapolis.
Yes.
Fantastic shop. Right there on the Annapolis waterfront, smack dab between the Capitol building.
Couldn't be a better location.
No, I mean that is prime real estate.
Especially with the tourist season beginning to pick up now, especially in that part of the state. It's wonderful.
And to those who are not from the DC metropolitan area, Annapolis is a major tourist attraction. You've got the actual cultural history from there. It is the state capital for Maryland, as well as having the Naval Academy.
Yep.
And this place is 2 blocks from the harbor and 2 blocks from the Capitol building.
Yeah, I don't think you could get a better location.
No, and it's fantastic location, fantastic shop. It's not huge. but it's not oversized.
Doesn't need to be that huge. In
No,
all
it
honesty.
fits the area well.
Yeah. I mean, the vast majority of the shops in that area are boutique-y, sort of rich people type shops.
Right.
So,
And they ended up scoring a 4.17 out of 5,
yeah.
which is a fantastic score for a small shop. It's run by a couple, it's a mom and pop location, but a young couple. And when we went in, this is where the young woman behind the counter was very pregnant.
Yes, she may have popped by now.
Yeah, I actually did send them an email and haven't heard back yet. So I'm thinking that Operation Sidekick, as the husband put it,
Right.
was a go. If Operation Sidekick was a go, congratulations from Zombie and Ox.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, when your wife is pregnant and you run a comic shop and you have Operation Sidekick, that's just awesome.
That's an overall win,
Yeah.
I think.
So it was a great shop, great people. You spent,
Way more than I should have.
yeah, you did.
But I don't care. I got cool shit out of it.
I had some great finds there. That's where I grabbed that Gambit #1.
Yeah.
Grabbed a Gambit #1 out of the $2 bin, $20 comic.
Yeah.
Fantastic grab. I managed to grab. That was where I grabbed Batwoman #17.
Mm-hmm.
The first lesbian marriage proposal. I actually grabbed Earth 2 #1.
Yeah.
Debuting Alan Scott as a gay character.
Right.
Some comics that I've been looking for. So they, in no means was this place a great place for old comics. They did have a large number of like recent back issues from like the recent 5-10 years.
Right.
And a huge amount of collectibles. But as far as it went for 90s run and Silver, Bronze Age, not nearly as much as I would have liked, but enough that I was still satisfied.
Well, you got a lot of what you were looking for.
Yeah.
I was able to pick up a Harley Quinn statue from the Arkham City line for probably more than it was worth, but I don't care.
Right. I grabbed Infinite Crisis, Battle of Bloodhaven, numbers 1 through 6, the complete series in a package. Awesome grab. So it was things like that where I'm like, this made it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. And then we hit Third Eye that day,
Now, Third Eye is an interesting place.
to say the least.
I spend a lot of time in Annapolis now, and whenever I'm driving to or from various areas I need to hit in Annapolis, I'm always driving by Third Eye.
Okay.
Great sign.
Yeah.
Love the sign. I mean, definitely sort of the Monster Rancher style logo,
Yeah.
which I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, but
No. Now that's where you had already cut yourself off from the day.
I had to. I really had to, because that place had so much stuff that I wanted.
Right. I mean, that day was just, we walk in there and it was almost overwhelming.
Like that's the place I'm going to treat myself on my birthday,
Yeah.
or massive Christmas present to myself.
And, this is, how deep would you say that shop was? What, like 60 feet from front door to back wall?
60, 80 feet, yeah.
Yeah, 60, 80
Place was
feet.
huge.
Huge. And then you've got probably about 30 feet wide. And the left half of the store is comics.
Yep.
The right half is graphic novels and collectibles. So, to give you an idea of the inventory, we're talking 15 feet by like 70 feet, just to get a midway point, of comics. And then 15 feet by 70 feet of collectibles. And that's statues, figures, action figures, graphic novels,
Card games,
Gundam
movie
model
swag.
kits.
Yeah, everything you could want.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you got into that corner right by the front door where they had like the plush stuff and some
Yeah.
of the other things. And it's just
Yeah, 'cause-
fantastic layout, fantastic selection.
Because that's where I grabbed the My Little Pony #1
Yeah.
variant cover. Because actually, Third Eye is a rarity, and that is that Third Eye is a standalone shop. They're not a chain.
That's where you found your Wolverine as well, isn't it?
It is. Now, what makes it special is that they do enough business that not only do they get variant covers shipped in, because that's something about the comic industry, is that in order for a shop to get a variant cover when it's released, they have to say, yes, we will purchase like X amount of comics. And usually that's like over 100, 200 plus of this issue. Not just of your total comics, of this specific issue. And Third Eye does enough business that they get their own custom issue drawn for them.
They're that high volume a store.
They're right up there with Midtown Comics on being able to do that. Midtown has, 5 locations in New York City?
Yeah.
And they get this. And to put Annapolis Comics, an Annapolis comic shop that is a standalone, one-location shop on that same map is a hellacious thing. I had some incredible steals there. Because I grabbed quite a few of their variant covers.
Yeah.
Deadpool variant cover from Third Eye, My Little Pony Third Eye variant, and the Deadpool. Bought that for cover price. My Little Pony bought that for cover price. My Little Pony was $25 when I got home.
Right.
Deadpool, $75.
Well, let's take a look back and see your total profit margin for that trip. Just in terms of adding copies to your collection.
Right.
Let's see, where is it?
Ox is feverishly digging through his text messages, searching for this fabled message.
Well, unfortunately, you also sent me one about this rare Tintin that I needed to get.
Yeah.
That I still need to buy.
Yeah. Sad
Well,
part was
I'll
that
find it.
you've been looking for that comic for quite some time, and I finally decided to sit down and find it for you. And it took me all 5 minutes, which is me in comics.
Well, that and I haven't really searched on eBay or searched
Right.
for it. I've been looking in shops and asking for them to do it.
Yeah.
But you spent only $135 that day.
Yes.
Walk out of there with almost $470 worth of comics.
Yeah. That's a good haul.
I mean, that's a wicked good profit margin if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I will say the Wolverine that I grabbed definitely bumped that.
Yeah.
Now what made me laugh was when I priced that out, and it prices out to $220. And do you remember when the guy pulled it down for me, and I tried to haggle the price with him?
Yeah.
This is a comic that I bought for $60, and it prices out to $220. And I'm trying to haggle the price down even further.
Yeah.
Didn't work, but I was still trying.
Well, I managed to haggle the coffee mug.
Yeah, which was another shop. So definitely Third Eye is a must hit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But both shops in Annapolis, to me, are top quality shops.
Yes, phenomenal shops. Definitely love the charm of Capital Comics.
Yeah, it is that small, independent operation.
Yeah.
Whereas Third Eye is much more the larger...
It's almost how I would picture a big box comic store, because it was that level that we were in the door, a minute and a half, if that? Like, we had just walked in, and it was customer or sales associate on us, greeting us at the door. How are you today? Have you ever been in before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was actually... I think she was actually the shift manager at that time.
She might have been.
Because, I mean, it had that sort of Hot Topic, hot selling skills type feel to it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely did. Engage, show us around, get stuff in my hands. I mean, I'm a salesman. I know the tactics you're using. I use them myself. I teach them. To my employees. Yeah, the add-ons.
That's where they try and get you every time.
Yep.
And had I actually purchased something, I would have signed up for their points club thing.
Yeah. I think that's the only comic shop we've been in that offers like a rewards card.
Yeah, it is sort of a loyalty discount card thing. Yeah.
So definitely a great shop. And then we waited 2 days? Because that was Friday, and it was torrential downpour that day, which sucked.
That's what got me sick, I think.
Yeah, probably. And then Sunday we hit, we hit DC.
Yes, we did go downtown. Beautiful, beautiful U Street corridor.
Yeah.
I love that part of the city.
Well, first we hit Union Station
Yes.
with Phantom Comics. Phantom Comics is, I mean, they might have better real estate than Annapolis, I would say. Actually, they probably do.
They do, in that they're not just getting locals or vacationers. They've got guys who are traveling.
Right. And I mean, this is not a big shop. It is located inside the shops in U Street, or in Union Station, which Union Station is a central hub for the DC Metro as well as for Amtrak and MARC trains. So major travel hub. Parking down there is phenomenal. If you choose to park,
It is expensive, but it is worth it.
If you metro it in, not too bad. They're up on the second level, and it's a small shop. But what they really carry a lot of is current comics, a few back issues, and then graphic novels. Stuff that mom and dad are going to grab for the kids when they're on the train. You know?
It'll definitely keep the kids occupied for the longer rides.
Yeah. And that's something I give them. The customer service was off the charts.
The guy was great.
Yeah.
His name Dan?
Dan.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it. I grabbed a few comics myself there.
Yeah.
And it was a good shop. They do have collectibles as well, which was kind of surprising for a shop that small.
I picked up a cool Arkham Asylum shirt.
Yeah.
Paid
Unfortunately.
standard retail for it, but...
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, the only downside I have when I go into most shops, as we're discovering when it comes to shirts, is that for some reason, comic guys are not perceived to be in mediums or smalls.
Well, as I found at the shop in Gainesville, most of the customer base, and we know this, it's a stereotype, but it's somewhat true.
Yeah, I'm the anomaly.
Comic guys are not necessarily in the best shape.
I am an anomaly. I am all of 5'11" and 125 pounds. Yes, you can begin to hate me now, because I also eat whatever I want.
And I hate you every day for it.
Yeah, you love me. But you know, I found that there were a couple shirts there that I'm going, I like this, but you don't have it in my size, as I find it just about every shop I go to.
Right.
So I have to mainly stick to the comics. Now from there, we went and we hit Big Planet, this was Big Planet's attempt at a web redemption, if they ever had one. Because if you remember, their previous store in Vienna scored
an abysmal
1.93 out of 5. They are...
In other words, a big, giant stone building of suck.
Yeah, they are actually... The Big Planet Comics in Vienna is the only store to... Actually, they're second on lowest score. Only beaten by the Hoarder Shop of Alexandria.
That we can't even really call a shop.
No. So, and that's excluding the few stores that beat them on lowest score because they're closed.
Right. If your only competition is stores that don't exist anymore, then you know there's a big problem with your business model.
Right. So we decided to give, Big Planet another shot. We figure A, they're in DZ, and B, we'll be nice guys. So
Not anymore.
no.
There's only so much you can suck before you piss me off, and these guys have gotten to that point. I am so annoyed with how shit the rest of their stores are that I don't even want to visit the location in College Park.
Right. Or Bethesda.
Or Bethesda. I used to go to the one in Bethesda when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's also, there is that level of, you're a comic shop. Kids are going to come in. Why are you playing uncensored music?
There's part of that. There's that part of it, yeah.
And this is coming from a guy who used to run a Hot Topic. I played music that was questionable, but never uncensored. And we played it loud, but we were Hot Topic. We weren't a comic store. We were intended for teenagers and adults. You, as a comic store, range all ages. And not a place I'd feel comfortable bringing my nephew in.
No, I'd agree with that.
And part of what got me too was that this is on the U Street corridor. Smack dab between the U Street station and DuPont station.
Yeah.
Prime traffic area, good parking, good location. And we went down there on Sunday, the day after the Gay Pride Parade in DC.
Yep.
Which, for those who are not familiar, the Pride Parade in DC is the second largest in the country, beaten pretty much only by San Francisco. The population in this area for gays is only beaten by San Francisco. So you're going to have a shop that every other shop on U Street has a sign, welcoming the LGBT community, doing some kind of feature piece for them in the window or on a rack. And you don't take the 3 seconds to grab a Batwoman number 17, Earth 2 series, Green Lantern series, Astonishing X-Men number 51, and
any of the LGBT friendly comics.
And, put even like a shelf together. That's just stupid business to me. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's your viewpoint or not. If it's going to sell, move the product.
If from a business angle, if you're strictly thinking about your profit margin, know the area that you're in.
Exactly.
I mean, they had a shit ton of Tintin, like old school Tintin stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't see anyone in that corridor, the entire U Street corridor,
No.
buying it.
No, it's such a progressive area. And let's face it, Tintin was not a progressive comic at all.
No, it really wasn't.
It was a very uncomfortable shop, and the customer service wasn't the best. So overall, they scored a 2.48. And if I didn't say it before, Phantom actually got a 4.18 out of 5.
Yeah, Phantom was great.
Yeah.
I loved Phantom.
So 2.48. They... Let's see. Based on score, current rankings for lowest stores
Yep.
is bottom rung, the Hoarder Shop of Alexandria,
Yep.
topped only by Big Planet in Vienna,
Yeah.
and then topped only by Big Planet in DC. Beyond that, we get into Phoenix Comics, where I bought Damaged Comics. When you are beaten by the store
Yeah.
that sold me Damaged Comics, there's a problem. You need to rethink what you're doing. You're pissing people off.
The problem is, I don't think a lot of these guys care whether or not they're pissing off their customer base. Because
No.
we are, as comic fans, we are moody. We are very vocal about our opinions.
Yes.
And we are very opinionated. And we don't care who we offend.
No. That's absolutely true of me.
Yeah, the idea that the concept that you might actually have a filter, I think we've firmly disproved.
Donkey balls? Yeah. So those were the shops that we hit this week, and it was a good round. It was a good adventure. And like Ox had mentioned earlier, that we have hit a lot of shops, and we have kind of gotten away from the comics. Part of that is we both have huge stockpiles of everything we've purchased. So the next few episodes, you can expect us to be covering a lot more in comics. We've gotten a huge hit up from the indie industry, the indie comic industry, which is fantastic. Zoe Out of Time.
Yes.
We mentioned them last week. And we have been partnering with them quite a bit as of late, just communicating back and forth. Great guys, and they are part of what kickstarted me to actually come up with a comic rating system.
Right.
It's very similar to our store rating system. And it is, instead of 10 categories, it is 6 simple categories. Story, plot, compelling, illustrations, and inking. Now, actually 5 categories.
That would be 5.
Yeah.
6 is the overall.
Oh, and read again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the sixth category. Now, to go through each one of these categories, you may go, well, story is plot. Well, no, actually it isn't. You can have a good story, but you can lack a plot. You can have a great plot and lack a story.
Right.
And I've seen that with a few comics. You can have phenomenal illustrations,
And nothing material to them.
but if your inking is horrible,
Yeah.
it falls apart. Would I read it again? That's pretty much the same thing of, would I come back to this shop? And compelling. Compelling is a category that I put in specifically for Ox.
Yeah. To elaborate on that a little bit, the whole idea behind comic books and novels and graphic novels is you want to get your reader to care enough about the characters to turn the next page or buy the next issue. If I don't give a shit about the characters, there's no reason at all for me to want to purchase the next comic, even if it is worth a lot of money,
Right.
And
so...
which is actually one of the big reasons I had such a big problem with the Avengers movie. But I digress.
Right. So I took, this comic that I mentioned last week, Zoe Out of Time, these guys that I've been working with, and I decided to implement my new rating system on their comic first. Now to break it down, story. They actually got a 4.9, plot of 4.9, compelling 4.9. And this isn't just, I've gotten to know these guys. This is a genuinely great story. This is something that we can all relate to. You have a young character, teenage character, who is very in touch with the band.
Right.
That she idolizes, she loves, and will do anything to hear their next song, even though they're not around anymore, to have anything that she can of them. We've all been there with that level of attachment with music. And so...
The biggest thing is that the band was around 60 years before.
Right. As my loving fiance just mentioned, that this band was around 60 years before her, before current day for her.
So this is essentially someone today becoming obsessed with like Count Basie or Duke Ellington, who hasn't really released anything new in the past 40 years.
Or Irving Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she, living in the future era, goes on this, has a father who's a scientist, gets into trouble, and ends up, getting teleported back in time. Fantastic comic. I cannot wait for the second one. And so everything about it really scored off the charts. The illustrations are fantastic. As I had mentioned before, they're right on par with Xenoscope's.
Oh, they're fantastic. They're beautifully drawn.
Part of what amazed me about that was that I ended up talking to the writer on Facebook. Fantastic guy. And I'm sitting there chatting with him, and I was complimenting him on his artistic skill. And he goes, well, I did a run for Xenoscope, right? And I went, no. Yeah, the reason his artwork is so high caliber is because he is a high caliber illustrator. He is currently working with DC.
Yeah.
Working with some of the biggest names in the industry. So they actually got one of the top illustrators in the industry for this comic, which just helps boost this phenomenal story off the pages.
Just looking at the cover, it's fantastic. It looks like it belongs, in major network syndication type animation.
Right. And actually, overall, this comic scored a 4.95. My biggest issue with it, and as much as I love it, is that I'm going into this knowing that there's going to be 4 comics. I want more. I want it to be another miniseries. I want it to be an ongoing, I want to read more about this character. And that is part of, that's a hard factor to deal with when you're going, okay, I love this character. You've got me attached to this character. But there's only 4. Now I'm sad.
You can't be all that disappointed, though. They sent us an autographed copy.
True. But still, it is a level of, if we do get attached to these characters, when is the end? When do we have to let them go? And apparently for Zoe, that's going to be 4 comics, unless, the guys over at Zoe decide to do another run, which would be fantastic. Hint, hint. But nonetheless, they still scored a 4.95 out of 5. You can find them on Amazon, $1.99 downloads.
Yeah, I just tried to find them on the Apple store and I couldn't.
Well,
so.
that's because you have Apple. And then Apple's iBooks is
All
currently being
right, all
sued.
right, all right. You lay off the Apple evil stuff.
But moving on.
Because I have got it on Kindle.
Yeah. It is available on the Kindle, on Amazon. So easily accessible. Fantastic comic. Highly recommend these guys. If you get the chance, $1.99. So check them out. Now, after working with them for a bit, I think word started to get out with a few other indie comic writers that we are apparently willing to be a voice for the indie industry, which I have no issue with. I'm actually kind of honored to be that voice because, well, every artist, every writer, every illustrator started in indie. Bob Kane. Where was Batman before it was bought up by DC? It was an indie comic. Am I right?
Yes.
So we have these phenomenal artists, these phenomenal writers that all they can go is up. And they just need a voice. They need to be heard. They need Marvel, DC, IDW, Image, Dark Horse to pay attention.
Yeah.
And so if we can help them and we can broadcast them, absolutely, I have no issue with that. Shortly after working with Zoe, I got hit up by a guy, the writer of The Mighty Titan. And he asked if I'd be willing to do a review, and I said sure. And the next message I received on Twitter was a PDF file. I mean, it was about a 30-second conversation of, would you be willing to do a review of my comic? And I said sure, and then PDF file. Wow, okay. It's a good comic. It is. Overall, Mighty Titans scores a 3.96. Now, part of what makes this such an interesting comic is this is actually dealing with a very difficult subject. This is a comic that is actually dealing with a superhero who has cancer.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is the writer himself putting his own life experiences into the comic.
Right. Personifying the character with his own experience.
Right. So taking somebody who has battled cancer and survived. I mean, I know a number of cancer survivors myself.
Yeah.
And battle with cancer is no easy battle. It sooner go against any supervillain.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have a limb amputated than have to go through that.
Yeah. So for this guy to not only take that very emotional and very personal experience and to publish it in the pages for all of us, and for someone that's currently going through that battle to gain a level of inspiration, I commend him. I really do.
Absolutely.
Overall, it was a good story. It's just one that is a very niche market, and it's going to be hard to push. But that's not his end goal, I don't think.
Right. I mean, if your intention is to profit greatly off of a comic, then you would write something that appeals to everyone. If you have this niche market, then people within that niche market are going to buy it and buy it en masse.
Exactly. Now, The Mighty Titan is available through Kickstarter. He has been doing Kickstarter campaigns. And it's just The Mighty Titan. Please check it out. Absolutely. It is worth looking into. And then that actually moves to our next indie comic, who actually was referred to me by one of my home stores, EG Comics over in Vienna.
Yep.
Went in there the other day. And while there, they recommended I look into a comic called Unit 5.
Okay.
So I came home, looked him up, and sent him a message. And going, hey, I do a podcast. Is there any chance I could get a copy of your comic to review it? And they said, sure, just, go here. Download the Comics Plus app.
Okay.
And you can download it for free, which, hey, gotta love the price point. Free is always a great thing.
Free is fantastic.
They currently don't have any physical copies available, but, read the free comic this morning because they hit me back up this morning.
Okay.
And I actually read it this morning, and it was a great comic, fantastically drawn. I was a little confused in the beginning, I'll admit that,
Okay.
because there is a level where you're very compelled by these characters, and you understand why they're doing what they're doing, but you kind of don't have much of a backstory, and so you're kind of like, well, I understand that you're doing this. That makes sense. I'm right there with you, but who are you?
Right.
So it is kind of interesting in that aspect. Inking, illustration, fantastic. They ended up getting a 4.16 out of 5.
Excellent.
Part of what saved them at the end was that when I got to the end of the comic, they had, instead of giving us a long, elaborate backstory that evolved to how all these characters came to be, because it's a team,
Right.
they gave a character card for each character. And it's basically your standard comic page broken into 4 sections and 4 cards.
A
And
little CV for each character.
Right, and name, real name, alias, main weapons, occupation, fighting style, and you're kind of like, okay, now I can kind of track this. So it kind of ran a little bit backwards, but I liked it.
Right.
Definitely a cool comic. Check them out. Like I said, free comic. Just download the Comics Plus app from the Android store. I don't know if it's available for you Apple folk.
I will figure it out. I will have it. It will be mine. Besides, I can get Kindle Reader for my iPhone. I just found out. So.
Okay. Good move. Good man. So they got a 4.16, which we're seeing a lot of great stuff coming out of the indie industry right now. And it's telling me that indie is where it's at. I've been approached by another indie writer that I'm trying to get in touch with, trying to find out how I can review their comic, get a copy of it, because it's kind of hard to review a comic I can't read.
Yeah, that's only fair.
But that's something that I'm really enjoying is, what? If you're a writer, if you're an illustrator, if you know someone that is, and they're trying to get their comic out there, please hit us up. There's half a dozen ways to get in touch with us. Use any of them. We will happily help you guys out. It's something that all we gain from it is getting to read a cool comic.
And in that vein, expect an honest review. We're not kissing anyone's butt. We're not we aren't getting any money to do this from anybody.
Right.
It's just my preference happens to lead toward DC, which is why I hate on the Marvel guys so much, but that's just me.
Right. And I'm much more of a DC fan.
Yeah.
But it is a level that, we're going to give you an honest review. And it is something that, if I open up your comic and I go, look, you got a great story, you got a great plot, compelling, but dude, did you draw it in crayon? I'm gonna let you know that there is a chance that you may hear back from me before we air the show, and I go, are you sure you want me to review this, or do you want to send me a revised copy? So yeah, we will happily be that soundboard for you guys.
It's funny you mention that, because I'm looking at an issue of Spawn that's sitting right behind you. And something about that cover, I know it's McFarlane. I love McFarlane. I think he's a great artist. But something about that cover just makes me not want to read that comic.
It's the fingers.
No, it's not the fingers. I think it's actually just the color scheme.
Okay, I can see that.
I understand, some people are under this mentality of, ooh, bright, shiny, must have.
Right. And my Mortal Kombat #1 Gold Edition is a perfect example of that.
Well, I would get that only because it's a Mortal Kombat comic, and even though it might suck out loud, I would still get it for the nostalgia.
Which is pretty much why I bought it, but it's also very valuable, apparently. No, and it also kind of goes into the original concept that psychology has a lot to do with color coding. Blues and oranges are welcoming. Reds are not. and greens
Reds,
are
dark
not-
shade colors are pretty foreboding.
right, and that's Spawn for you. The front cover is dark foreboding.
Except that one, which to me is just too bright.
Okay, now I track where you're coming from.
Because in his right hand is a yellowish, greenish orb type thing.
Yeah. Now,
I mean, that's one of the main reasons I was never into Spider-Man. Because, aside from being a goody two-shoes, oh, I'm a little poor photographer boy. It's all really bright, red and blue, sort of, I don't know.
hey guys, hey! Oh crap! Here comes Parker.
Exactly.
Hey Parker. Hey guys, I told you, it's Spider-Man when I'm in the suit. Yeah, Parker. About that. Hey, did you hear there's a camera sale over at 106th in Amsterdam? Really? Yeah. There's SLR lenses, 90% off. Ooh, see you guys later. Did you just send Spider-Man to East Harlem? Yeah. Dude, you're a dick. Maybe. Yeah. That moment brought to you by Ox on our drive to Annapolis.
I don't know. Maybe
No,
I
I think it's absolutely right.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think Peter Parker as a character is fundamentally lame.
He's the character that I can see Tony Stark beating up. I can see Captain America beating him up and taking his lunch money.
Yeah.
When the Boy Scout beats you up and takes your lunch money, there's a problem.
Which is, I guess, sort of why I tilt more towards Punisher in that battle.
Right. Because you hope that Punisher will shoot him in the face.
Exactly. And Punisher, instead of just crying about his dead family and, becoming this Boy Scout of a superhero, goes and actually kills people and actually avenges his family.
Right. Which actually brings me to reading Punisher Noir.
Yeah. Love the concept behind it.
Oh, I do.
I mean, I'm a big fan of film noir. I love, in addition to the Sin Cities, I love that. L.A. Noir, the video game, was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. And actually, what you picked up at one of our shops this weekend
Yes.
was Spider-Man Noir graphic novel. Included in that was 8 Spider-Man Noir comics,
Yep.
broken into 2 Spider-Man Noir series, and a 4-run Punisher Noir series.
Yep.
Now, I mentioned, leading into Punisher. I'll start with that, even though it's at the end.
Right.
Great concept. I came straight out of Spider-Man Noir, actually loving it and having a respect for a Spider-Man that I actually liked. Going into a character that I already loved. And I was
Where is
very
it? Do you
upset.
have that handy?
It's right there.
Got it.
It is a character that I love. I love Punisher. And I was very upset by this. Number 1 got a 3.83. Number 2 got a 3.75. Number 3, oddly enough, got a 4.18. And number 4 got a 3.93. So, yes. Number 1 wasn't that great. Number 2 wasn't that great. Number 3 was good if you read it by itself. Part of my issue when going from issue to issue in this was that I found myself lost. They were trying to do too much. And so you're bouncing between these unclearly defined timelines. And it's very confusing. It's very irritating. And you're not very attached to the character, as well as the caliber of illustration and inking that I saw in Spider-Man was lost in Punisher. And that was just frustrating. Because I'm going, you guys did phenomenally with this Noir line. What? Why did you smoke crack? That was a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. So, it was just something that they kind of seemed to throw out the Punisher series in just a, here, have this. I like 3. If you ever want to read 3, read it. Great comic. If you read it as a standalone. The first 2 and the last one, not the best. I'm not going to recommend them that much. Now to go to Spider-Man Noir. Number 1 got a 4.73. Number 2, a 4.66. 3 got a 4.7. And number 4 got a 4.82. This was the first run, the introduction of Spider-Man Noir. Fantastic.
I gotta say, my favorite part about it thus far, just thumbing through it, is once you get towards the back, after the Punish Noir set,
Yeah.
you have a lot of the concept art
Yeah. Which is something I do appreciate.
and explanation of the character design.
Yeah. And this is a Spider-Man that is brutal. This is not your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. This is a Spider-Man that would skullfuck this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to death. He doesn't care. He is so full of hatred, so full of vengeance that Batman would look at him and go, dude, you need help.
I don't know if you saw this at the end of it. Daredevil, Cage, and Iron Man Noir.
Yeah. Daredevil Noir is a one-shot that I've actually been trying to track down for quite some time myself.
Yeah. You may have to do the collection thing.
I may. But it by far, the first one was just phenomenal because you have this character that we've all known, we've all made fun of. It's Spider-Man, who, A, was willing to kill, and B, once he kind of was like, okay, maybe killing isn't the right thing, he more or less had that, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And, he tied everything up with a nice little spider bow. And it's a Spider-Man I would not want to be on the wrong side of.
Right.
So, absolutely recommend the Spider-Man Noir first run. The second run was absolutely off the charts. Got a 4.84 for Spider-Man Eyes Without a Face number 1. Eyes Without a Face number 2. 4.81. Eyes Without a Face number 3. 4.87. And Eyes Without a Face 4.9. And this is coming from someone who hates Spider-Man.
So, in essence, this thing took you from absolutely despising all things Spider-Man to saying that this one graphic novel is near perfection.
Yeah. I mean, I have never... you want to talk compelling. Eyes Without a Face, number 1. You're introduced to Doc Ock, a character that we all know. We've all made fun of at one point. And he is a wheelchair-bound Nazi. Like Dr. Moreau-style Nazi. Has the arms that come off the chair, experimentation on people, and actually friends with Himmler. Not just Heil Hitler. This is, oh yeah, I got a communication from Himmler this week. Himmler, the guy who committed how many atrocities, is his buddy. Yeah, you want to start about compelling you to hate someone and compelling you to hate a character? This was it.
So this takes us back to that sort of goody two-shoes Superman we were talking about from the late 30s, early 40s, where it's super patriotic, he's beating up Nazis.
Yeah, but this was more... this was more brutal. This was more grungy, more...
Visceral?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely visceral. Hand me it real quick.
Sure.
I know there's a page I want to find in here. It's just a phenomenal read. And I highly, highly will recommend either of these series to anyone. Okay.
I also picked up, at the same shop, I picked up Batman Noir, which I'm
Bottom
really
shelf.
looking forward to. Yep. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Just to give you an idea of what Ox is seeing right now, I just handed him an open page of a monkey with its cranium open and brain being experimented on, and a tear rolling down the monkey's face.
Yep.
That's some emotion there.
Well, the thing is, and that's sort of something that Clive Barker delved into, was if you want to show a violent atrocity, show it.
Yeah.
Don't pussyfoot around it. Don't wuss out and say, "Oh, my readers won't enjoy this." You know, if it is visceral, let it be visceral.
Exactly. And that is something that Marvel has not done much. That is a DC tactic. It's very much a DC tactic, and Marvel will pussyfoot. This was Marvel not giving a shit.
Right.
And I loved it. I want to see more.
One comic I can think of that really did that very well a while ago was the old Preacher line.
Yes.
I remember first seeing that and I was like 8, maybe 9.
That'll scar you.
No, I loved it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, okay, this is what real violence looks like in the comic book world.
Sandman.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman.
You know, it's not onomatopoeia bubbles of
Right.
pow and bam and campy crap.
Right. This is pure uneviscerated violence. And it's not just violence for the sake of being violence. It's violence with deep moral undertones, something that drives you to turn the next page, to know what is going to happen. You know, this guy has committed these atrocities. How is he going to be stopped? Who's going to stop him?
Right.
You know,
That to me is a compelling character, a compelling storyline, backed up by outstanding art.
exactly. And so I will say, you know, Marvel, Spider-Man, Noir, fantastic. Absolutely a must read. Actually, both the first run overall out of all scores got a 4.73 total.
Wow.
And Spider-Man Noir Eyes Without a Face overall total was a 4.85.
Wow.
From the man who hates Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, the only one I can think of who hates Spider-Man more than you is me.
Right. And Punisher Noir, in comparison. I hate Spider-Man, I love Punisher.
Yeah.
So those two scores for Spider-Man and Punisher got a 3.92 overall.
Only because of the art.
No.
No?
No, it was that very confusing, chaotic story.
Okay. Okay.
It just didn't hold together well, and it didn't complete well.
Okay.
So yeah. Now, while I had mentioned going to EG earlier. While I stopped off at EG, I was talking to the guy there about a recent Justice League episode that the missus and I had watched.
Right.
And it was the episode where they go back to the 1940s. Or not go back to the 1940s, but go to a world where it's very 1940s-ish.
Okay.
And you have a portion of the Justice League meeting a group called the Justice Guild of
Right.
America. Very fascinating. You've got the Green Guardsmen. You've got Streak. These characters who are pretty much knockoffs of themselves. And it's a very strange episode. One that I do like a lot, though. You've got these over-the-top, like Adam West-style villains. You've got the musician who fights with a accordion that shoots like beams out of it. The sportsman who will like use sporting equipment to attack you with, like a boomerang or a badminton birdie. Yeah, badminton birdie. Yeah,
Cock shuttle.
Yeah, that
Shuttlecock.
thing. Shuttlecock.
Cock shuttle.
Whatever. It's a crappy sport anyway. So, you know, these just very cliche, over-the-top characters, and it's a fascinating episode. They're actually based off a run called The Golden Age.
Right.
Golden Age 1, Golden Age 2, Golden Age 3, Golden Age 4. Four-run series. And he actually told me, you know, pick him up, give him a read. And so I did, based on his recommendation. These guys, I will say for all 4 comics, got a 4.9 on both illustration and inking.
Wow.
Consistent 4.9 for each of these 4 comics, which is nothing to sneeze at. You know, if we go to Golden Age #1, story 4.25, plot 3.75. You were kind of confused. Compelling 4.5. And then we go to Golden Age 2, story 4.5, plot 4, compelling 4.5. Golden Age 3, 4.75 for story. Definitely kind of that, like, you start out and then you drop a little bit. And then you just jump. They just pull you right back up. And that's where it went to a 4.5 for the plot. And compelling was 4.5. Golden Age #4, 4.99 and 4.99 for story and plot. Near perfection. It's just an incredible read because this is a comic based on end of World War II.
Right.
These are heroes that fought in World War II. They fought in Europe fighting the Nazis under Ford's administration, with Hoover, and now they're home.
Right.
The war's over, and they're not fighting Nazis anymore. They're back to either retiring or fighting crime again, which is a drastic change for these guys.
Which, especially given our current socio-political situation, is something a good number of comic readers can relate to, especially those that have actually served and are coming back home.
Which, if you have, sir, thank you.
Yeah, definitely thank you. But there is that element of reintegration that is often difficult.
Exactly. And it's showing these characters that are super.
Yeah.
They are super powered, and they're dealing with it they're having to deal with it just as much as we are. Just to give Ox an idea of the illustration, I'm showing him a couple pages now.
That is a whole lot of math and physics that I do not understand. Like, that's algebra I've never seen before.
Actually, the formulas work.
I'm sure they work. It's just not something I've ever been exposed to.
But to see that level, let alone a calculation that works in a comic, just letting him thumb through issue 1 real quick. Because I want to get, I've been impressed by these comics, so I want you guys to get Ox's gauge of where we sit with this.
I love it. I've got to get this.
Yeah. I mean, these... Am I right that these illustrations are off the chart?
This reminds me so much of that sort of deco style that you would see in, like, a BioShock.
Yeah.
Or... it definitely harkens back to those comics of the 40s and 50s with sort of a nod to the current graphic stylings.
But also with the story and plot edginess of today.
Yeah, well, I guess that sort of just plays true because the same stuff that's being written about today was happening then. It's actually being written about.
Right.
There's no subject matter now that seems to be off limits.
Very true. Very, very true. As, I've mentioned, I'm a huge proponent of the LGBT community.
Yep.
I actually managed to pick up the Astonishing X-Men #51, which I plan to actually do a review of shortly. And for those who aren't familiar, this was the first gay wedding in comics ever. Not just having a gay character, not just having a mention of a gay wedding. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It's wedding day. There's not really too much of a battle going on. It's let's get everybody to the altar. You know, let's calm the nerves. And front cover, you've got these two guys committing to spend their lives together.
Yeah.
At the altar, in suits, gorgeously done, gorgeously drawn. Fantastic comic, for at least what it stands for. And
I just hope this is the sort of just the beginning of the more progressive-minded comics, where it doesn't matter about a hero's orientation.
Exactly.
Although it would be quite funny, well, not funny, interesting, to finally see, Captain Transvestite.
Actually, we did encounter.
For drag queen?
Yeah.
There have been actually the first cross-dressing character in comics was in the early '60s
Right.
and was actually a villain.
See, but therein lies the problem.
Right. We also saw it in Punisher Noir. Oddly
Yeah.
enough, the Russian shows up as a cross-dressing, like transvestite thing. It's really weird, and kind of disconcerting because it's the Russian. It's that standard. This is the ultimate bad guy for Punisher.
Yeah, you've never been to what the fuck is the town called? One of the towns on Cape Cod.
Yeah, I don't spend much time in areas like Cape Cod. They aren't too friendly to me. I fear being lynched.
No. Provincetown. Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's out way, way on the Cape.
Okay.
I was about 8 years old, going whale watching, and that's where the ship went out of.
Okay.
Saw my first 6'2" tall woman with an Adam's apple.
Yeah, but this is the Russian from the Punisher comics. The way the Russian still looks,
Right.
but in a dress.
Right.
And it's just very odd. It's that character you love to hate. And why did they do this to him? So, and actually speaking of characters love to hate, interesting concept I thought of when it comes to Solomon Grundy. Watching DC Universe today, which is we're used to the anti-hero concept. Punisher is an ideal anti-hero.
Yeah.
However, Solomon Grundy's not. He's not an anti-hero. He's a villain,
Yeah.
but he's not a normal villain. No other villain would be protected by Superman or Wonder Woman or Hawkgirl in the event that something was happening to them. If something bad was happening to Joker, they'd stand by for a little bit. They'd eventually put a stop to it, but not that level of almost parental protection that they seem to put on Solomon. And it makes me think, is Solomon a one-of-a-kind, an anti-villain?
It's weird. I've never actually put that much thought into Grundy.
Because Grundy is evil and bad, but he's very childlike and very innocent. At his fundamental roots, Grundy wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
He wants to
Yeah.
smash.
Yeah.
That defines a large number of toddlers I know.
But it also defines a number of heroes that I know.
Right. So, can we say that Grundy is evil? Can we say that Grundy is a villain? Or is he an anti-villain?
Well, along that same question then, could you say that Hulk and the Thing from Fantastic Four are in fact heroes?
Exactly. How much damage has been caused by...
That brings up my favorite question in the comic book world.
Would Progressive cover me if my car was smashed by Superman?
No.
Oh.
No, not that. You always see in these epic battles just how much damage is done to the city, right?
Right.
Who pays for that? Who pays for the collateral damage repair when a city is obliterated by a hero battle?
I'm thinking that just goes into the city's overall insurance costs or possibly natural disaster. FEMA probably comes in.
But then nothing would get done.
Valid point.
I mean, obviously, it's a FEMA-type organization, except they do their job well.
Right. So they can rebuild it, and they managed to rebuild it in like a week. So that the same battle can occur at the same coffee shop the next week and be destroyed. And it's kind of that level of, your house got taken out by a hurricane, so you rebuilt a house there?
Okay, I think I'm coming to realize that there's a reason this discussion doesn't happen very often.
Right.
It's because we do have to kind of take a step back and realize it is a comic book. It is fiction.
Right.
Weird shit happens in fiction.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Like how did Clark Kent actually get Lois Lane?
It only took him 60 years.
Yeah, it only took him 60 years to finally marry her, and you would think that most women after dating for 60 years, if they're not getting any, they're just out. They're done. She'll go find Batman.
Well, on top of that, most of the women I know, if they were pestered by the same guy asking to go out the same way for 2 weeks, would probably file for a restraining order.
Yeah. So
Not to say that Superman is a creeper,
but he kind of
but
is.
kind of.
So yeah, if we're gonna go with that, if we're just gonna start using all kinds of logic, then let's
No,
Being on the logic bus.
yeah.
I mean, logic is my friend. It doesn't always follow me to work. It doesn't always follow me here, but I like to think that in some world, in some way, someone will institute logic in a way that is actually honest.
Well, that's why I gave up on using standard logic and I use my own logic. It's zombie logic. It's very similar to an Amish pretzel.
What I just heard from the other side of the room sounded just very pessimistic. It's like, we're all screwed.
No, it was, oh Lord, we're all screwed.
Oh, Lord, we're all screwed.
Quotes from my future wife. You're marrying me.
Forever.
Yep. And she knows it. It's comics, we deal with all kinds of issues. And I mean, I know that as much as we can try to stay away from politics, it is something that does come up in comics. We've seen it. Marvel deals with it a bit more than DC does. And the way that DC circumvented it was that they created their own cities. They created their own world. Marvel bases in our world as we know it.
Well, you can sort of see that in The Watchmen as well. It's an alternate reality, an alternate city. So the politics aspect comes more into play with that.
Right. And so it does get interesting, especially like when Luthor became president. We saw the fallout of that in Earth 2. He went crazy and shot Flash in the face.
It's generally just a bad idea.
Yeah. But then again, if you're gonna kill Flash, that's a way to do it. Especially with a 12 gauge. Hey, it worked for Cheney. Oh, yep.
Yep, kept his job, wasn't charged with anything.
Yeah. Kind of like Luthor. Oh God, Cheney's Luthor.
No, Cheney wishes he could be Luthor.
Yeah. He has more hair than Luthor, though.
Yeah, that
That isn't hard.
Luthor is in better shape, which again
Isn't
hard.
But yeah, there's the issues that we may touch on. There is the, at the end of the day, we're gonna discuss these things. What you take away from it is what you take away from it. If you hate us for it, so be it. I've had people hate me for more legitimate things, and better reasons. So, we're here to talk about comics, and we are definitely excited for next week. And actually in just a couple days. Isn't that right?
You're much more excited than I am. I'm still pessimistic.
I'm excited just because I get to dress in costume.
Just don't get yourself thrown out of the theater. That's all I ask. If we're going to go through the trouble of getting to a midnight showing, don't get thrown out.
I won't. For those who haven't followed my Twitter feed, we will be at the midnight launch for Superman. Dressed, and I will at least be dressed as 90s run Superboy. Which leather jacket, ponytail, sunglasses, screaming, "Don't call me Superboy." So it'll be a fun night. Considering that this is the same movie theater that they had like 20 Iron Men at for the Iron Man 3 launch. and one Iron Patriot.
How is it that whenever I go to these midnights, nobody's in costume?
I don't know. There was also the girl who walked by dressed as Thor, and it took me a moment to realize she was a girl.
Lovely.
Yeah. She made a very, very convincing Thor, though.
That's fantastic. However, if while in costume you're completely messing with my idea of gender assignments, then
She was also wearing a one-piece spandex outfit that was the Thor outfit.
there shouldn't be a question about your gender.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
It was special.
Well, it's like when I went to the midnight release of Arkham City.
Okay.
If you're going to dress up as Harley Quinn, oh, no,
Be
I'm
a
sorry.
chick.
I'm sorry. Poison Ivy.
Be a chick.
Ooh. Poison Ivy. That, yeah, you gotta get in shape for that.
Right. This girl was not in shape and had some sort of a medical device, either an insulin pump or something hanging from her on a little shoulder strap.
You gotta love the dedication, but still.
Yeah,
All right.
if you're going to commit to the character, and she did.
All right, if you're
However-
going to have a medical device hanging off you and you want to go with a Batman villain, you know what? Do a female Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Do a Bane. Do a female Bane. An insulin pump with a female Bane, that would be great. That would be fantastic. Would work perfectly. You could probably pull it off better than anyone just because of
You
that.
could even put green LEDs in the tubing.
Yeah. So, granted, your midnight for Arkham City went probably not nearly as good as mine did, where I walked away with a $50 gift card.
Right, no, I did get a couple cool posters, I thought.
Yeah, my
But
midnight...
I'm still happy that I got the statue this past week though.
Yeah, with Arkham City, because I went to a midnight as well. That was before we were friends. I went, and the store manager of the store I went to knew me quite well, knew what an encyclopedia of Batman knowledge I was. I was the first person in line, because I got there redonkulously early, as I do for every midnight launch. And I'm sitting there on the railing. The crowd starts to form, and she walks out, and she holds up a $50 gift card to GameStop.
Right.
And she goes, if anyone can stump him on a Batman question from now till the end of the night, this was about 8 o'clock at night, gift card is yours. The only catch on this was that if I was able to hold out for 4 hours, that gift card was mine. Which I walked away with a $50 gift card. I had some great questions come out. Some that people, I could tell when they asked it, were asking with the, there's no possible way there is an answer to this question. Yes, in fact, there is.
And you came up with it.
Like, what's the backstory to Bane? Oh, well, here you go. We'll start from preconception and go forward.
Or we could even talk about the Dark Knight Rises Bane, which is a completely different storyline.
Which was before it even came out.
Yeah.
So no, that was a fun night. I just kind of enjoyed the challenge. It's those things about comics, getting to learn and research them and have fun with them, and being able to walk into a shop and go, here's what I took away from this, and people go, really, you took that away from that? And I go, yeah. I go, that's actually pretty awesome. Or finding out about like weird things in comics. Actually, one in a Batman comic I recently found out about.
Yeah.
New 52 Batman. I believe it's issue number 5.
I think I just purchased that one.
Apparently, in the comic, Batman is suffering. He's been poisoned and is hallucinating. And about halfway through the comic changes direction.
Okay.
So, like, not the comic itself, or I should say the comic itself, as in, like, the formatting of the comic actually changes.
Like it was drawn by a different artist?
No,
Or just-
like, I think you actually, at the middle of the comic, have to go to the last page and then read right to left.
Okay, interesting.
It's something that,
I'll have to check that out.
and, it's a fascinating concept because it's a level of, that's never been done in comics before.
Right.
Oddly enough, something so simple, because they did it in the trying to fuck with you, trying to make you feel the level of lack of control that he has.
Right.
At that moment, Batman's tripping balls and has no control over anything. So what do they do to the reader? They fuck with you. They take away any sense of security you have, knowing that when you turn the page, the next page will be there. No, in fact, it won't. So that's ingenious. It's brilliant. And it's those things that I love about comics, that you have the writers who are going to go, you know what? I want to see what happens if I take this character this way.
I think along those lines, there is the assumption that the average comic reader is of moderate intelligence.
To say the least.
And most of the times they have to be.
Right.
Especially if you're talking about with the New 52. It's like the reader has to be smart enough to realize, okay, this is where I have to switch to whatever.
Right.
In order to understand this thing fully.
And that's the aspect that I have to appreciate. And I mean, it's also part of why I'm finding I love the indie industry. We are seeing things come out of the indie industry that we would never see in mainstream comics.
Yeah, they just don't seem to give a fuck.
No.
And they'll write whatever they want to write, which is fantastic.
I love the indie guys for that. They're like, look, you're either going to love this or you're going to hate this. At the end of the day, I don't care. I can go to bed and I can sleep well because I said I tried it. I did it. I had an idea, and you loved it or you hated it.
I did it, and the check didn't bounce.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I did it, and the check bounced.
Right.
Oh, well, live you learn. Those are the aspects that I love about comics. When you just see those new innovative ideas that are just insane, off the wall, we're going to give this a shot.
But I think that's where the comic universe is heading.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there are people who love the classics and will only read the classics.
Yeah.
But then, they're painting themselves into a corner.
Right, which, I mean, granted, as much as I love the classics, I'm still going to review newer comics like I did with Ghostbusters, actually. New Ghostbusters line.
Don't tell me anything. I haven't started them yet, and I'm really looking forward to starting them.
Okay, well, so I can't cover the ratings?
Go ahead.
Okay, so because at Ox's request, I'm going to just cover the ratings. For those who don't know, there have been a series of Ghostbusters comics on and off over the years done by IDW. And it's one of those, if you're a Ghostbusters fan, it's a Ghostbusters comic. You got to love it. It's kind of like G.I. Joe comics. It's there. We love it. We're fans. We're going to read it. So I've actually picked up numbers 1 through 4 and breakdown. Number 1, 4.33. Number 2, 4.21. Number 3, 4.29. And number 4, 4.38. So great comics. Absolutely recommend them. They're done by IDW. Pick them up. They should be easy to find at your local comic shop. They should only be up to issue 5 now, if they are up to 5.
It's either 5 or 6.
If it's up to 6, I need to really stop by and pick up my subscription. I will admit, my love of Home Away from Home Victory. I've been bad and haven't visited them in the past week. But they're Victory.
How dare you?
I've been cheating on them. I've been hitting other shops.
Yeah, we'll do that later this week.
Swing by Victory, definitely. It's one of those. Victory's my home store. I'm always gonna go there. Same with EG. They're around the corner. They've got my old stuff. It's where I can go and where I can just hang out and talk comics. They know what we do. They know they've already been reviewed. They're not worried about it. Victory wants us to go there and do a podcast live from there, which we're looking forward to doing in the future. It's not like going into these other shops where we're going in, we're pretending to be your regular customer all the while going, I'm shopping you, I'm judging you. And I do love it.
Well, we do tell them at the end.
Yeah. Unless there are the few stores that I haven't brought it up to. And that, for the most part, is the stores like Big Planet. Where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell you because I don't like you. And I just don't even want to deal with you if you know that you're getting a horrible rating.
Right. I don't need a fake sycophantic comic book store employee trying to butter me up to give him a better rating.
Right. I mean, and quite honestly, if I go into your store and I hate it and you try and bribe me, I'm going to take the bribe, but your score's going to go lower.
Yeah, I'll take the bribe, but I'm going to mention the fact that you bribed me for a higher rating and thus give you a lower rating.
Yeah, it's you know, we are retail, or I'm a retail employee. I've been in retail long enough. You bribe me, it's not going to help you. I'll take the bribe, but I'm still going to just treat you the same. If I don't like you, I don't like you.
That's one of the main reasons I got out of retail too, is my disdain for the vast majority of humanity prevents me from being an effective customer service representative.
And that's why I go into work looking at every day of work as a sociology psychology study. And if I try to analyze my test subjects, it then can make it tolerable.
Well, that's why I'm willing to sit at a Starbucks for 2 hours.
Yeah, but I won't pay that.
Looking on my phone in finger quotes.
Yeah, but see, that's why I don't normally go to Starbucks unless I'm with you, and in that case, you pay.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like paying that much for coffee or chai, because I drink their chai.
Okay.
Yeah. As he picks up a Starbucks cup. Label out.
Love the lack of corporate sponsors.
Yep. Which, granted, as much as we say, we don't do this for money. Yeah, at some point I could see us having commercials, or doing some kind of paid advertising. But don't worry, fans and listeners. If that day comes, it's going to be a moment that we will say something to the effect of, this ad is being brought to you by so-and-so.
And if you would like us to advertise your product on this show, shoot us an email, zombieanox@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Let us know. I mean, we're not currently broadcasting live right now, but that doesn't mean that isn't in the works.
Right. We would be broadcasting live if it wasn't for the fact that all live broadcasting systems are really awkward and kind of not working.
They just hate us.
Yeah, they do. It's an evil conspiracy. It's the Justice League aligning against us.
Did you hear that?
I did. I don't know if the listeners did.
She just blew your shit right up.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Just keep talking. Do what you're doing.
Okay. So, actually, there is one thing that we didn't get to implement, unless that's going to be implemented tonight when you get home.
What is that?
The opening sequence?
Yes, I will be doing that later.
I would like to say that, since Ox has now mentioned it, the opening sequence that was just, or that would be played on this earlier at the beginning,
And will be played on the way out.
is something that was actually written specifically for us by a fantastic artist, Kino. And I will actually post information and links to more of her work on our website. Fantastic artist, somebody that I've known for quite some time, and I actually hit her up and was like, hey, we kind of could use an opening sequence, and she said, okay, like about a minute 30? And I said, sure. Day later, not even 24 hours later, she shoots me a message with, there you go, and had one.
The song is called Dreams. And
Keo, or she's had numerous.
She didn't give us an idea of how to pronounce that, did she?
No, she didn't.
No.
So it's Keyo. Love her stuff though.
And eventually we'll add a link to her store or page or whatever she's got up.
Yeah, whatever she desires us to put a link to on our webpage.
Because, for a day's turnaround, it's an outstanding tune, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, we actually do have a webpage up and running now, which was quite a feat. Yeah. How awake were you when I got that up and running?
What, yesterday?
No. Wasn't it like 2 days ago that I got up and running?
I was probably asleep. I was
Yeah.
probably passed out.
Yeah, I actually went through, did get us a website up and running, www.zombieandox.webs.com. There you will find links to all of our podcasts. You will find the actual ratings of the stores that we visited, as well as links to those stores, to their web pages or directions to them, whatever links I could find. Their ratings and comic ratings. Pretty much any comic that we've read, we've liked, we put it up. And giving you an idea, that is a section that will expand exponentially. May have to break it down into different pages of different genres. So, DC, Marvel, indie, what have you.
Well, as we have more time to read,
Yeah.
we'll have much more material put up.
Which is why we're actually taking the next few weeks off of visiting shops. The next big place that we're going to hit is the Northern Virginia Comic Con.
This coming weekend, yeah.
This coming weekend? No, it's in
No.
2 weekends.
You're right, the 23rd, did you say?
Sunday 23rd. And I'm not sure where that up there it is. There's a little slip of paper that I have that if I can get my lovely fiance to be willing to grab it, right over there, to give you guys some information on this. It is called the Comic Book Show. Schoff Promotions, SHOFF Promotions. Tyson's Corner, Virginia, Crown Plaza. Sunday, June 23rd, 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Full selection of gold, silver, bronze, modern age comic books, hobby supplies, non-sports cards, sports cards area 2. Adults $2, 18 and younger free.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, schoffpromotions.com. That's SHOFF promotions.com. I had actually never heard about this, and EG tipped me off to it. So we're definitely going to go, give it a shot, see what we find. If you're interested in going, look for us there. It shouldn't be too hard to miss. The guy with the long hair and mohawked ponytail and earrings and tattoos with the giant man standing next to him.
I'll be sure to be wearing my Monroeville Zombies jersey that day.
That is if it isn't like ungodly hot. This is summer in
I don't
Virginia.
care. I'll wear it anyway.
But we'll cover more on that coming up. And overall, I think it's been a good episode. You got anything else for us this week, Ox?
Oh, let's see.
Is there anything else you wanted to specifically cover? I think there might have been.
What, me?
Yeah, you.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
That's next month.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Comic-Con is next month. But
If you're going to Comic-Con or any of the cons in the area, hit us up with an email or a tweet. Let us know how it was. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Also, feedback on this show. If there's something we're doing that you hate, let us know. We may laugh at you derisively, but if that's a risk you're willing to take, go for it. Tell us what you want to know. We are here mainly for you.
and our egos.
And our own egos and enjoyment. So feel free to hit us up on Twitter, our emails.
Main website has links to Twitter, Facebook, and email. That's www.zombieandox.webs.com. We have links to everything there, as well as check out our friend section, where we've got links to actually quite a bit of Zoe. We've got Zoe's information on there for Zoe Out of Time, and Eat Geek Play. Still good promoters of us. They've sent us a lot of love, so we'll send some love back. We've got our About Us section, Contact Us, podcast downloads, our merch site, direct link, comic reviews, store reviews, and our friends. So
Also, if you feel at all inclined to improve upon our page, get in touch with us. I am not a graphic designer, nor has Ben.
Zombie.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We are not graphic designers. We do this shit for fun.
Yeah.
So.
And considering that this was a webpage that I made at roughly 1 o'clock in the morning, while really it's a free comic or a free webpage, so kind of did the best with what I had. I know it's not great, but hey, it's better than what we had before, which was nothing. So,
On that note, I think we're pretty much out of shit.
yeah. Until next week, minions.
All right. Later, people.